What's going on, people? Went out earlier tonight, got some little run stuff out of the way, right? Try to stay some kind of fit or whatever. It's run group evening. Did that whole thing, good 4.5 miles or whatever, through the streets of the beach. And now I'm here opening up this box of Saucony Guide 18s. Oh, and apparently a shirt. Forgot I ordered the shirt. So let's go ahead and see what's going on with that, shall we? First off, like I said, there is a shirt on top of here. So where's the top of this, front of this? Still screwed it up. Whatever. So there you go. Typical white, it's a tank top style. It's kind of not really all filled out all the way, but yeah, typical tank top things. Wear a lot of these. Saucony logo thing on the back with those 3 dots and whatnot. So yeah, I got one of those, what do you call it? Color runs coming up. And I know I just said that last week, but there's a new week and a new run, and I'm doing that because why not? And as is often the case when that happens, I go off and I buy a new pair of shoes, and then I get them all messed up, and you mostly never see them again. Right? I mean, I did wear the Ultra Boost 5X a couple times, but not. Geez, this thing looks chunky. It's a big body shoe, It's very orthopedic. Not in the best way either. Like, sometimes I get stuff and like the Super Blast, yeah, it has that same sort of vibe to it, but it at least like looks cool, Yeah. This just straight up looks like something for an old man. Which, I mean, I'm not like a young man, you know what I'm saying? But I'm not like old either. At least I don't think so. I mean, maybe I am. I don't know. I guess it depends on who you ask. Either way, so this right here, like I said, this is the Saucony Guide 18, right? Real quick. There is also a Ride 18. Apparently, I guess they came out around the same time. The difference being the Ride is kind of more neutral. The Guide is more stability, right? Support and all that stuff. So if you have an issue with your feet and you need that extra support and whatnot, then you're gonna want to go with the Guide. If you don't, if you're good, you just want something that's gonna be decent, then you go with the Ride, right? That's kind of how that works, right? I think the Guide is also a little bit heavier, right? Because, again, the extra support and stability and stuff going on in there. But otherwise, that's kind of where we are right now. Now, I would have preferred to have bought a pair of the Ride, but they didn't have an all-white pair, so that was the end of that. Anyway, so like I said, this right here, Saucony Guide 18, down on the bottom. That's what things look like down there. So that's going to be basically the only part where you have color is that gray stuff. Otherwise, this not looking like there's going to be much for traction. I'm guessing the gray part should be sure, but it doesn't give me hopes of being good at it, and there's also not much of it. So we'll see how that goes. As far as like catching things from the side angle, right? Midsole, I mean, it's not great, honestly. Like it looks just kind of thick, and I don't know. I just don't like the design of it a whole lot. Switching to the inside, that's not a whole lot better. You got a little Saucony branding down in there, but yeah, overall, I'm not really thrilled about the look of this. I didn't really look at it a whole lot beforehand. This is my first time seeing it. And then as far as the upper goes, right? Got a standard mesh sort of upper. Feels a lot like a Kayano or a Nimbus, things like that, right? So not like super thin, but not super thick. But I mean, I'll know for sure once I actually like take this paper out here, try these things on. And then that just kind of goes all the way throughout, right? You got these little plastic overlays and stuff for the Saucony logo on the outside. Then on the inside, you just kind of have that there too, right? It says Guide on the back end. Does it have the number? Yes, got Guide 18 on the back end. And then a little bit more like around the sock liner, looking like it did around the front of the shoe and all that stuff in the forefoot. Just, a little bit thicker, a little bit stiffer back there because that's kind of how that works. And then, that's weird, you have this like very like non-slip plastic thing, kind of like you put on like on a counter or something. And then, is that upside down? No, it's not. And then you kind of can see it in there. There it is, Saucony for the branding, just down there across the middle with a pretty padded tongue it looks to be, right? Not as plush as like the Kayanos, well, not the most recent, but maybe the 31. The 31. Not as Not as plush as that one, but definitely more so than the 32. So I kind of see what I'm saying, like fairly thin, but whatever. And then as far as what's going on down on the inside, it says form fit, and it has an 8, which I believe this is an 8mm drop, perhaps. Yeah, 8mm. So I don't know what the overall stats are of this thing. It didn't really matter. The only thing that did matter, actually, you also have a little bit of branding. I just caught it. You can see it just barely, where the light catches it right. Well, you just have to take my word for it. It's there. It's like right in here, just barely. It does say saucony, but yeah, that's this right here. Like again, I needed something for for this run coming up. So here we are. I'm gonna slip these things on real quick, see how things work and all that. And I will say this, like just right off the top, like upper wise, things are feeling pretty nice, and they're a lot more breathable and see-through than I thought they might be. So that's kind of nice. So hopefully these things work out like well as far as like in execution goes. Because I don't really care so much for the look doesn't really mean as much, right? It's the functionality overall that matters. I say that if I was buying these for an actual running shoe, like I'm buying them for a color run, so they're just going to get all colored up at some point, and that's going to be that, right? But as far as the sizing goes, getting on into that, right? So I bought these in a 9.5. I have a foot size that matches up with that true size and all that stuff. So things are going fine as far as everything about these, right? It feels like you got a little bit of just a little bit of room in the toe box, which is cool, right? It's not too snug, and you can probably tell just by looking at this dimensions and all that stuff. It isn't like the slimmest, narrowest type of build like those. What's the last thing I was talking about? It was an Adidas shoe. It was the Supernova Rise 2. Yeah, something like that, or the Pegasus. Those are pretty thin, narrow wise. I mean, these not so much. You got to look. Actually, it seems like you got a lot of wiggle room from like the left to the right for sure, and you got just enough in the front piece too. Now this is an 8mm drop, so I'm feeling like once I stand up and move around in them, I should still feel like I have a decent amount of room. Sometimes as you hit like those higher elevations in the back end, it kind of gives you that feeling like your foot is more slipping to the front, and which then kind of makes it feel a little more confined. This shouldn't be that issue. Also, one thing that I am noticing now, you can basically see right into this shoe from the top piece, right? Because I'm wearing some of my running socks. These are the Belega light cushions, I guess, something like that. But yeah, you can kind of see like right on down in there, which is nice, right? Because it gives you that extra breathability. When I had the paper in there, it's kind of hard to tell that. But yeah, so you got that going on pretty nice. I do like it. The upper, like I kind of said moments ago, is feeling pretty nice as well. So far, things seem promising as far as wearing them. I just don't much care for the way that they look. But hey, the price was right because I think they were like 140, 150, something like that, which is a pretty good price range in my opinion for something like this. So I have no complaints, but I will see how they actually feel later. It won't really matter a whole lot, but I'll at least give you my opinion along with the review, which is partly why I haven't posted any reviews lately, because it takes a while to like get around and like to running in these things so that I can put my 2 cents as far as like running experience goes in with the actual review rather than doing follow-ups later. So that's kind of where the delay has come in. And also, honestly, I keep forgetting that I need to like do these videos. I'm running off at concerts and stuff. Living life, man, to the fullest in some kind of ways. And so this kind of just has been forgotten about, unfortunately. But I'll get back to it at some point, hopefully. So yeah, that's what's going on here. Saucony Guide 18 gives you the stability and whatnot if that's the thing you need. If you don't, look to the Ride 18, and that should be more of a neutral style and just kind of give you what you need. I don't, as far as a bare minimum thing. So that way you can go out there and do whatever it is you need to do, assuming your feet are good and whatnot. Most people will probably be fine with the Ride. There are likely other differences, right? I'm not going to say that's the only thing, but that's kind of one of the bigger things. Even the Saucony guy, when he was down here, he was telling me that. So yeah, I'm on board with how these are feeling so far. but I won't know until Monday how they actually work out. So don't get used to seeing this look, because the next time you see them outside of pictures and whatnot, they will likely be partially some other color. I don't know how that's going to work. Assuming things actually happen, anyways. So there's going to be that. Now, real quick, if you were just here for the shoe things and whatnot, that's over. I'm going to ramble on a little bit about some movies I saw last week, which would be The Breakfast Club and The Long Walk. So if you care to hear that, stick around. If you don't, I get it. You can move along. You know, those are your two options, I guess. The Breakfast Club. Never saw that movie, right? I'd heard about it, but like initially, like when I heard the name, I don't know, for some reason I associated it with just like old people just like sitting around like some old women just having breakfast together and talking about their lives or something, and like the little, yeah, I just didn't think that it was going to be for me. But if you ever saw the cover of like Fried Green Tomatoes, like that's kind of what I pictured. Maybe I just have the movies mixed up, I don't know, but either way it sounded dumb to me, right? And I say that with little input because I didn't know anything about it. But later on I heard more and I was like, okay, this does seem interesting, I guess, but I'm not going to go watch it because like I'm not going to look it up and stuff. But it was in theaters, so I went to see it, and it was actually like pretty good. I mean, for what it is, it's just, you know, five people just kind of, I think five people in a room having the detention and all that stuff, getting to know each other because they don't know each other beforehand. They just know that they represent different parts of the school, you know, like the populace, if you will. So you got like the girl that's like the popular girl, then you got like the guy that's like the sports guy, you know, stuff like that. The little nerdy kid, you know, the little outcast girl, and then like the bad boy, right? But yeah, it was actually a really good time. I mean, if I had seen it like years ago, I probably would have thought higher of it, because you know I've seen other movies since then and whatnot. So it probably doesn't hit as hard as it would have back then. But yeah, no complaints about that. I can see why people are into it, and I'd suggest it if you haven't seen it. It's an easy way to kill some time. And then moving on past that, not super different in some ways, was The Long Walk. And I say that because it's about like a group of people that also don't know each other. They're out there doing this thing. In this case, it's a long walk, and just kind of getting to know each other, and you see how things play out. Now, obviously, like this, the whole thing is like if you all walk however far, basically until there's only one person left, and then you win money, and you get to make one wish, and then it's granted to you or something, which sounds a little far fetched, but you know it's within reason, I guess. People will wish for like a car or something like that, a house, whatever. Which I guess if you already have a whole bunch of money, like that would, you could get that thing, but whatever. So that's happening, right? And then along the way, you know, because everybody is kind of like bonding together at the same time, there's some people who rubbing others the wrong way, and then there's the whole thing of like you're friends, but like you also want to win, and this person wants to win, and it's a whole thing. But it ended up to me being a pretty good story and all that stuff. It's based on a Stephen King book, much like The Monkey, but I don't know how much they took from the book. But The Monkey, they took mostly nothing other than just the monkey. With this, it seems like it might have been closer to like the book, only because it seemed very realistic and very much like a Stephen King sort of deal. But anyway, so yeah, it was pretty good. I liked it. It's not a whole lot of action or anything. It's kind of slow in that sense, I guess, depending on like what you prefer out of movies. But story wise, I liked it. Thought it was pretty all right. So I would say if you've seen the trailer and it looked interesting to you, go check it out because you're getting what you would expect. If you were on the fence before, you can just stay on that fence and just wait for it to be on streaming somewhere and check it out then. So at least that way you're not spending too much money to check it out, you know? Because then if you don't like it, it's not so bad because you were at least watch it at home, right? So that's convenient. But anyways, that's going to be it for me. I'll real quick recap over this, right? Because this is what we were really here to talk about, what I was here to talk about. This right here is the Saucony grid, excuse me, not grid. I do have a pair of grids, but the Saucony Guide 18 in all white because I have a color run coming up. So that's why I bought these things, and they do offer some stability, but should be also a pretty decent running shoe. Not maybe for speed, but you know, moderate daily trainer sort of situation. So that's what these are, and that's what I'll be doing with them. And again, they do also have the Ride 18, which is similar, but without the support and all that stuff. So there you go. There's that. I am now done. It is just after 10 p.m. and I have done enough for the day. So I'm done here. From me to you, have a nice rest of your day or rest of your night, wherever you are. Like I said, I would like to put up some real content soon. I even recorded some stuff soon that I also forget that I even did. An Alex Ross thing, some Jordan 12 thing. So at some point, I'm going to get my life together and start doing videos again. But I don't know when. But anyways, there you go. Now you're all caught up. Later, people.